The truth, Columbus and everywhere. WTRH. If you're not listening to the truth, then it's false.
Why can't I fire you?
Because I'm your wife. You can't fire me. We in this together.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, the H Double Heart Henry of the Two Hearts online shows and podcasts, and you are tuned in to the Thursday podcast. Yes, another episode. And just remember, we are streaming on all platforms. Make sure to follow, subscribe if you're on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon. We're on all of them. So if you're on one, go on the other. Keep giving us those likes and follows because we definitely need them. And our social media, Facebook and IG, it's just Two Harks, the number 2, HARKS. Twitter is MSTAJ_HARK. And we are sponsored by Coles Keys Real Estate, your key to everything real estate, licensed in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Just go to www.coleskeys.com. They'll be more than happy to assist you. And of course, Sons of SP Phillips, where they have custom t-shirts, accessories, clothing, and more, inspired by the people, motivated by the culture. A lot of great stuff there. You might want to check it out. Some good thrift deals and everything else, new and very slightly used. I know my last podcast with Key, I said that was my episode 13. I was totally wrong. This is episode 13. And this episode is an exciting episode. This young lady who was now new family reached out to us and wanted to be on our podcast. And we appreciate and love her for that because now we know people are actually listening. And the name of this episode is Living Free of Narcissism. And I'm going to bring her on and let her introduce herself. And go ahead.
Yes. Hi, Joe. Thank you so much for, responding to me. And it's truly a pleasure to be on the show today. Thank you so much. But yeah, my name is Joy, and I am a narcissist abuse coach. I've been dealing with narcissists since 2006. And since 2017, I've been helping former victims and survivors move on, heal, and recover, and essentially be progressive in their life after dealing with abuse. So
good. Mm-hmm. And what's some websites and some social media handles where they can get at you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my website is actually livenarcfree.com. So LIVENARCFREE.com, livenarcfree. And also I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, and I'm on YouTube, all at livenarcfree. So they can find me there. Good. Yes.
Good. Joy, it's a pleasure to have you here. I've been watching some of your YouTubes, and you are definitely a ray of sunshine. You have a lot of great information.
Thank you.
I love your approach to, very welcome. I love your approach to narcissism and what you're doing. And I also understand that you are a woman of faith, correct?
Yes, I am. Yes, sir.
Good. Awesome. Yes. Awesome. And you are currently in Florida.
Yes.
Oh, close to the airport.
Yeah, I'm actually by the base, the Army base. I know you probably heard that. Yeah.
Well, we did. I was like,
yeah,
whoa.
I know. Okay? You're like, what is that? I know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm good here. Every now and then I'll hear an airplane. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, Joy, before we begin, we have a segment on our show, and Joy and I talked before we started recording, And Joy has failed us, everybody, for our segmented shoes.
I did
She
by
failed us.
accident. I totally forgot. So I apologize, you all. My bad.
Right here.
My bad.
Oh, hilarious. Oh, my God. Well, since I'm the only one with sneakers, because, like I said, me and the wife are sneakerheads, and it's just me, her is out doing her thing right now. So I brought on my, I forgot what I call them. My Nike, I dropped some. My Nike Cortezes, yeah.
Ooh, yeah, they're nice.
Yeah. I probably won like 4 times. I had them like 5 years.
Oh, wow.
I've got so many. I forget the name of those shoes because I'm from Northeast Ohio. So that's like Akron and Canton, right below Cleveland. So where I'm from, we call them dope mans. Don't ask why. But that's we've called them that since high school. And even though a lot of us are 40, close to 50, we still call them that. And crazy story is my dad used to work for Department of Youth Services. And I wanted these shoes. I said, Dad, I said, can I get the dope mans? He's like, what is that? So he's working with, youth criminals, whatever. He said, what is that? I said, that's just a name. And he asked one of the guys, he said, why y'all call them dope mans? He said, because the dope dealers wear them. So long story short, I got the shoes eventually. And, I keep rocking them. So he wasn't too happy that he got them, but I got them. Thanks, Dad. So, Joy, let's go ahead and...
That's funny.
So, Joy, let's go ahead and just jump into our topic here. Tell us exactly what narcissism is. Because for me, lately, I've been seeing on social media people talking about narcissism this, narcissist that, dealing with a narcissist this, and then people are like criticizing, rebuttaling, like saying people who claim people are narcissists are really the narcissists. And I always thought narcissism was like the next level between being conceited, arrogant, entitled, and then narcissism. And then, but I'm coming to understand narcissism is being a narcissist or narcissism is a little bit deeper than what I think it is.
Yeah, Joe, everything you said is definitely correct. Being conceited, feeling entitled. But I guess, quote unquote, the definition of narcissism, for what I've learned and actually experienced, is when an individual has an inflated sense of self. And then they also have a sense of, exaggerated self-importance as well. And then essentially it's a personality disorder. It's a personality disorder where the individual, they lack empathy. They're not capable of having like a connection with another individual without it being some sort of like manipulation involved or some sort of hidden agenda, essentially. So, yeah, it's like inflated sense of self, essentially. And they have to have they have like a high sense of self-importance that's like overly exaggerated. So that's essentially what narcissism is.
Okay. Now, listening to your podcast and going on your site, I did my research. So I found the website.
Yes.
It was mayoclinic.org. They had an article about narcissism. And these are some points that stood out to me that really helped me understand what it is, because it reminds me of somebody, and I'll tell you who as soon as I'm done. Having an unreasonable high sense of self-importance and require constant excessive admiration. Feel that they deserve privileges and special treatment. Expect to be recognized as superior even without achievements. Make achievements and talents seem bigger than they are. Often preoccupied with fantasies about success, brilliance, beauty, or the perfect mate. And they react with rage or contempt and try to belittle other people to make themselves appear superior. And I read all that and I said, I said, that reminds me of a certain former U.S. president.
Oh my God. No, you're right. You're so right.
I said, that's him to a T. And I always get in these Twitter battles. I said, this dude has a God complex about who he is and what he does. And I said, he's very dangerous. And, and I can see how that can be abusive and why you got involved. So go ahead, tell us exactly why you got involved with being a narcissist coach. All the sizzles keep messing me up.
I know, right? So essentially, as I mentioned before, I'm from Delaware, a native of Delaware. But at age 17, I ended up moving to California. And I was living in California for about 11 years. And during the period of time while I was living there, for about 5 years, I was living with my aunt. And I thought everything was fine. I didn't think much of it. I was new there. I was hoping to be welcome, supported, and, fit right on in as if it's my family of my own, which my aunt is my biological aunt, just saying. But, I noticed that at first everything was lovely. I was spoiled. I got a lot of things that I wasn't used to getting and stuff like that, which was fine. And I was very appreciative. I never took any of that for granted. I always thanked her every time.
Right.
But I want to say within like 2 years or so, that's when things kind of changed. I noticed that I was criticized a lot. I was belittled. It was like I couldn't do anything right. And, she would always try to discourage me from having my own mind. She didn't want me to think for myself. I had to be under her control all the time. And if I didn't agree with everything that she wanted me to do with my life, it was a problem, or it's like she would punish me and stuff like that. And so, and come to find out, after doing my research, and being away from her, eventually moving out on my own, I learned that she was a somatic narcissist. And with the somatic narcissists, they are very particular about their outer appearance, how they look, to other people is very important. Their image, their reputation is crucial to the somatic narcissist, but also the beauty, the outer appearance, like how their face is looking, if they're pretty enough, their hair and stuff like that, And so they kind of push that onto their children and the other people that are around them. They try to make it seem like they are perfect. So that was one of the persons that I had dealings with that was a narc. Now, also while living with my aunt for that 5 years, I want to say the third year I had met a male. And he turned out to be a narcissist. Now, it's interesting because how I met him, it was because, it was really business per se, because he was actually an entrepreneur. He had his own website. He created instrumentals and he sold that, for a living. But he had other businesses that he had done. But I was just intrigued on the thought of like, oh, I can create my own instrumental. Like I can learn about that because I've always had a passion for music. I love music head, always and forever. But yeah, so I was intrigued. So I reached out to him. I saw his video. He had videos on YouTube and I was like, oh, this would be like a good mentor, somebody that I can learn from and grow from, But it turns out, I learned about the music industry. I learned how to make instrumentals, but I guess we had started, seeing each other, mixing business with pleasure, which I don't recommend that anymore,
Right.
But,
oh, yeah.
yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
And so, but anyways, to fast forward, we started dating. And we were dating off and on for about 4 years or so. And after I went no contact with him, I found out that he had a personality disorder, which was him being a narcissist. And, me having those experiences along my journey, after I went no contact with my aunt, after I went no contact with the male narc, for about 4 months at this job that I was working at, I met another guy. He actually was a borderline, but with the borderline individuals, they have unstable moods, unstable behaviors, and unstable relationships. And with them, they are very afraid of being abandoned. So they try to get you before you can get them, sort of deal. And so all of that to say, on my journey, I was just miserable. I was sad. I was hurting, and I didn't know where to go and who to turn to. And so, I had already had my YouTube channel. I had my platform, right? And I just told myself, you know what, it's not even about me. I don't care what people think. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like there's a message that I need to get out there. And funny enough, I want to say I made like 2 videos, and those 2 videos got decent amount of comments, decent amount of views and stuff like that. But there was one video that I post. It's on my YouTube channel now. I believe it was titled "The Narcissist Has a New Girlfriend and a New Supply." That video went viral. And so I said to myself, okay, well, I should be doing this, like this is something maybe that not only is helping me heal, but it can help other people heal too. So.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me, excuse me. Let me dial back a little bit, because you said at one point, like when you didn't do what your aunt wanted you to do, she punished you. What were some ways that she would punish you? I mean, because excuse me, I say aunt. Some people say aunt.
Fine. No, you're fine.
I'll mess some words up. So how would she punish you? Would she be like physically abusive, or
it's not. It wasn't the physical. It was more like verbal. Yeah, it was like mental abuse, emotional abusive. So it would be like, just kind of giving me the silent treatment, making me feel like an outcast and stuff like that. Or, if I were to, I had interests of like, and I'm not saying that my aunt, she, at the time I thought she had my best interest at heart. But just the fact that she discouraged me from even like wanting to try new hobbies, wanting to try new activities. It's like, that's what teenagers or young adults, they do that. They have to explore so they can find out what they like.
Right.
But with my aunt, she was just like, no, you need to do this. You need to do that. This is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So was kind of like forcing, having like a law, like saying, no, you must do this. And if you don't do this, then maybe I won't cook you something for dinner or something like that, or I'll take away the car that because she had a car that she allowed me to drive. And for instance, like if I didn't comply to what she wanted me to do, maybe she may say, okay, well, you can't drive the car anymore, stuff like that. Or, just really kind of like maybe rejecting me or neglecting me, or like I said, just making me feel lonely, like, and just kind of dismissing like my feelings, dismissing like how my emotions, and just making me feel bad for being able to feel and feel bad for wanting to live my life how I have a God-given right to do so, And so, those are some of the ways I would say that she would punish me. And also too, I guess, once I did move out on my own, I didn't hear from her. I didn't hear from her for a very long time, and she would ever come to visit me at the new place where I had moved out. And I'm thinking like, oh, are you not happy for me that I'm like trying to be independent, self-sufficient, and self-reliant? And it's just like with narcissistic people, they want their children or their victims, they want them to be codependent on them, because narcissists have to feel like they're needed, and if they feel like they're not needed, then they don't want nothing to do with you, unfortunately. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
The whole time you're talking, I'm just like trying to think if I've been in situations like that at work, and I don't really think I've had that experience in my family. They might say it's me, but I don't know, maybe.
Really?
I have my ideas of things.
Okay.
You don't like my ideas, that's on you. I'll talk to you tomorrow, though, but that's on you, especially when I'm right. But that's a different story. But I can probably recall some people that I've worked with those tendencies, and maybe it might not have been to that level, but I could see where it could have gotten to that level.
Yeah.
Had it been allowed to.
Right.
Because I think when you're in a work situation, it's easy to get there because you have people that'll start praising you. Like, just like the person we was just talking about, when people start boosting you up, no matter what you do, no matter if it's wrong or not.
Yeah.
They start building you up.
Yeah.
You start to believe that you're the law.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of narcissists, as we mentioned, the term narcissism is they need that approval, they need that attention, they need to be admired like excessively, like it's just 24/7, 365, like you don't have any time to break. It's like, no, I need attention. I need your praise. I need your whatever they're looking for, And I mean, normal people want attention. Normal people want admiration. Normal people want to be admired, but not to the extent where, you're draining people and you're making people feel fatigued and exhausted. And it's just too much to be around you. You know what I'm saying? That's how narcissists will make you feel, so.
So do you think these people know they're narcissists, or they just think they're just perfect? So they don't, because looking at the website, it says some ideas or some things about people getting treatment, but they wouldn't normally seek treatment for narcissism.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm pulling it up right now.
Yeah.
Looks like they would not normally seek a doctor for a personality disorder, but rather for depression. So I guess I'm kind of thinking that if somebody has this personality and you're not bowing down to what they say, they start to build a sense of depression and anxiety about, I guess, the world itself, says nobody likes me type stuff. Am I correct in that?
Yeah. With their personality, again, they can't get treated. Essentially that would be some sort of therapy, behavior pattern shift mindset that they would have to change, which, as we mentioned, a lot of narcissists, they're not thinking about that. Like that, they're like, no, I'm laying down the law. I'm right. I'm superior. And a lot of times narcissists feel superior because of, it could be accolades that they have accomplished. A lot of them are very successful. A lot of them are financially well off, and they feel like, people are beneath them. And so they're just kind of like, well, people look up to me. People come to me for things. And so why do I have to, adhere to what other people are telling me to do? Or why do I have to follow this rule? Or, I can break the laws, or, nobody tells me what to do. I'm right all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's how they have that sort of complex. But yeah, I think that if, a narcissist is telling you like, hey, do this, do that, and you don't listen, it really gets them angry. It gets them frustrated. It causes a narcissistic injury, which is, essentially they're upset. They're going to lash out on you. They're going to punish you. What they're trying to do is try to get you to comply. They want you to fall in line with what they want you to do. They have to be in control at all times. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Full control, full power at all times, at all costs. So.
What do you think starts somebody down the path of being narcissistic? Could it have been something personally they've been deprived, or maybe a flaw that they finally overcome? Maybe someone who, I'm thinking out loud, maybe someone who was maybe heavy set in high school, and then they lost a considerable amount of weight. And of course, you should be happier with weight loss if you're feeling great and feeling healthy.
Right.
But if it gets excessive, is that that's just an example I'm thinking, is that something along the lines?
Yeah, it definitely could be that it's excessive. And, they could be like, oh, well, I lost a lot of weight. Why can't you lose weight? You know what I'm saying? Or I look like this. Why don't you look like that?
Right,
you see what I'm saying? Where they're like constantly comparing. They're trying to belittle people, demean people and stuff like that. Because like you said, anybody would be like, oh, yeah, I lost a couple pounds. I look good. I'm slim. You know what I'm saying? They're excited, But with a narc, they're like putting people down, belittling them, like we said, demeaning them, degrading them, and trying to make them feel less than, for the narc to only, benefit from that, because they want to make themselves feel better. So they put other people down in turn, But to answer the other question you were saying, I feel that narcissists are made. I feel like it's due to two different scenarios. It's one where, and this could be childhood or it could be preteen, young adult, stuff. But when that child, for one, is not getting attention from their parent, if they feel rejected, they feel abandoned, they feel neglected in any way, they could, just be needing that attention from others, needing that constant praise, needing that constant admiration from people at all times to make themselves feel better. You know what I'm saying? And they feel like they're entitled to that at all times, But then on the flip side, if the child if they have gotten everything handed to them. Maybe they didn't have to work for a lot of stuff. Maybe they grew up in a rich household or wealthy household and their parents just kind of gave them everything. They're like, okay, well, everybody else is supposed to give me everything. I deserve all of this stuff because I got it when I was younger. I didn't have to work for nothing. People have to bow down to me, blah, 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 that sort of deal. So it's either scenario that in which that a narcissist is created. And I do kind of, not putting anything on the parents, but I feel that it's the parents' job and their duty to make sure that they are properly parenting their children. So that way, we won't have these personality disorders, so.
Right. Just on that example, I can think back some more. I can definitely think of people in high school like that. A lot of athletes, a lot of kids with good grades, exceptional good grades. And it's funny because I can see some of those people on social media and their lives aren't as great as they were in high school. And I can see, right. And some of them I can see where they're trying to still live that persona, right. And then others I can see who kind of had that egocentrism in high school or that was building up to that, who are a little bit humbled and just, a normal person like I am. Right. So, I can kind of see how it is, the downfall. I don't know what happened in their lives when they went to college or anything that might have changed that, but I can definitely see the change in this because some of the people I associate with now never associated with me in high school because I just wasn't that guy.
Right.
And now I can see these people on the street. Oh man, what's up, man? I'm like, dude, you never talk to me.
Like, why are you talking to me?
Right. Calling me out. What's up, man? I'm like, hey, what's up?
What's up?
And it's weird. Right. It's weird too, because you go through high school feeling like you're on the bottom of the totem pole and you're looking at these people. And even as a kid, you're thinking, man, this guy's going to be whatever forever. And then 20, 30 years later, they're not.
Yeah.
And it's just weird. And I just wonder, I guess that's a different subject of how the crash feels when you just realize you're not going to be that for the rest of your life.
Yeah. That's definitely a reality.
So,
yeah, for some.
Right. Yeah. So, you're crazy. Let me ask you this. What does that, excuse me, trying to get my question right. What does the narcissistic behavior that's reflected onto you, what does that do to you as a person who's receiving this abuse? Like, what did it do to you, and what steps did you take to overcome?
Yeah, man, that's a beautiful question. But so the abuse, what it did to me was it made me feel like I wasn't good enough. It made me question like my reality. It made me feel worthless, hopeless, fearful. I had a lot of anxiety. I had a lot of depression. I dealt with codependencies. I dealt with trauma bonds. I dealt with, cognitive dissonance, PTSD, CPTSD, all of that. So it kind of brought up a lot, and so I'm actually glad that it did happen because it brought everything up that I needed to deal with inside of myself and bring it up to the surface so I can work through to heal that. So now what I actually did, I started doing some inner work, some inner healing. And so I started immediately talking to like a counselor. The unfortunate part with that, though, she didn't really understand narcissistic abuse because around when that time had happened back in 2014, not too many people talked about narcissistic abuse like how it is now, right? It's like, you hear it from time to time, but back in that time, nobody was really talking about it, And so, but I was able to talk to her and process my feelings and process my thoughts, but that was not enough, So I had to start reading books about abuse. I had to read books about codependencies. I had to read about grieving, understanding the grieving process. I also had to journal. I had to journal out like my thoughts and, you know, how I was feeling day to day, just kind of letting it out. You know, I also, I did a lot of yoga that I truly think that and having a relationship with God saved my life, because if I wasn't able to get out and, you know, be around other people and just like being cramped up in the house, that I think that would have made me go crazy. But thank God I had that outlet of going to yoga, doing a meditation, but also building my relationship with God by, you know, just talking to him every day, every night, and just asking him for signs on like, how do I heal? Where do I go? You know, who do I need to talk to? Or how do you want me to behave, God? You know, just really just connecting with him, you know?
Right.
And also, you know, really having friends. Oh my God, I'm truly grateful for the few friends that I made in California. I'm still friends with them today, 10 years later. Beautiful, beautiful people, good hearts, good souls. They was there for me too. They supported me, you know, they helped me to kind of, you know, just go out again and just start life over, essentially, because after you deal with narcissistic abuse, it's like a part of you dies. You know, you're not the same person anymore, you know? And so, you know, just kind of finding out who I am, who is Joy? What is Joy like? What is she doesn't like? You know, like, what is she, you know? So I kind of had to dig deep. And, I think that's pretty much, that's what I did essentially. So, I did that and more. So.
Right. Now, it's interesting that you said that you pray to God, you did some praying and things like that. A lot of people, not me, a lot of people would argue with people in your situation saying, if you got these issues, if you're praying to God and God's supposed to help you with everything, why are you going to counseling? And that was a conversation that we had once in this African American male wellness group that I joined, and a lot of them were kind of going back and forth, and even one of the ministers was like, sometimes there's a spiritual side to things. When you're going through something, there's a spiritual side. You have to understand some of your conflicts spiritually. You know, what's going inside your heart and your soul. And then your counselor, the therapy part, helps you process the mental or the physical aspect of what's going on in your life.
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think, you know, with God, he has become my foundation for how I live my life. And I think I have my relationship with God. And if I'm going through, like, you know, the abuse, you know, I would pray to him, talk to him during the day, middle day, at night, just let him know how I'm feeling, what's going on. And I would ask him, like, okay, God, how do I heal from this? Lead me and guide me. Show me the way. What do I need to do next? And sometimes that could be, you know, just read the Bible or something, or it could be phone a friend, or maybe it's going to therapy. So essentially, God is the foundation for me. And I guess counseling or therapy would just be another segment on the journey for how I was able to cope, how I was able to heal. Oh, and another thing that I did too was I did watch a lot of videos on narcissistic abuse, and joining a support group is good too, because it lets you know that you're not alone. Because I think that was the biggest thing for me. I'm like, man, like, I've never had any other friend or no other family member has talked to me, you know, besides the narc, but nobody outside of that, my aunt, nobody said, oh, yeah, you know, Joy, like, I've dealt with a narcissist, or, you know, I've been abused by this person. It was narcissistic abuse. Nobody ever came to me and said that, or even a friend. They never had that experience. So I felt as if I was alone. So when I had that support group, it let me know, like, no, you're not the only one, you know. But also, too, my relationship with God, I became stronger because I was like, well, I know that God loves me. God has my best intentions. He has unconditional love for me, which unfortunately I never really felt that from anybody else. And so that's how I could always say, like, thank you, God. Thank you so much for loving me unconditionally, and that, I'm your child. And he, like I said, he has become my foundation. So, yeah.
Right. Good. That's
Thank
pretty
you.
awesome. Is there different types of therapy, or or should someone just focus on finding somebody who deals with narcissistic abuse? Because, like you said, you had PTSD, you had depression, you had anxiety, you had stuff I didn't even know existed. Because they come out with different stuff every day. Like you said, the bond attachment or something like that. I don't even know what that is. Trauma bond. I've never heard of that.
That's basically when you are attached to your abuser, or you have like a love-hate relationship with the person that's traumatizing you, that's manipulating you. And what happens is, it's a cycle of rewards and punishment constantly. So it's a back and forth cycle that really never ends unless the victim of that bond can realize, like, okay, I'm attached to my abuser. I may be lusting after my abuser, or, I am dependent on them, and I need to break free. And if I don't break free, then this is going to be this bond is going to be like this for the rest of my life. And people can have trauma bonds with their parents, with family members, associates, anyone, an abuser. It could be a trauma bond to a boss, like a job, something like that. So, but yes, I hope that answered the question.
Yeah. It's amazing to me. Because I had another family friend, because anybody that comes on our show, I consider a family. So if I say family friend,
Yeah.
And she talked about domestic violence and the physical abuse of it. And even though because she was Puerto Rican, and she said that's their culture. And even she said, even though you're waking up every day, and you probably attest to this, you're waking up every day, you know it's coming, but you don't know when the abuse is coming. You don't know what fashion or form that is coming, but you know it's coming. And then people on the outside always like, oh, you should leave him, or you need to do this, and you need to do that. And with, like you said, a trauma bond, that's easier said than done. Even if you are getting beat up, even if somebody is emotionally and mentally abusing you, you just have that bond because abusers make you think nobody wants you, or you'll never be good enough anywhere else. And I think a lot of women need to understand that abuse comes in many, many forms. It's just not physical. And just because it's not physical doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. Because it could drive you crazy to the point where you might want to do something to yourself.
Yeah. And, speaking of that, I have never been in a domestic violence situation, thank God. And I pray that I never will.
Yes.
But
we'll pray for
I personally feel, I think that the mental, the emotional, the psychological abuse is worse, because at least with the physical, the marks, the bruises, it could go away. But that mental, emotional, and psychological abuse, that can stay with you for the rest of your life. Unless, you do that inner work, you do the inner healing, you talk to someone about it to help you to sort through, what happened, to gain clarity and to gain understanding on the abuse you experienced. So.
Right. And that's kind of what she said, because she said she watched her mother go through the abuse. And my friend said, I'm a survivor. My mother's still a victim. Even though she's not physically being abused, but she still has that psychological trauma that she hasn't dealt with. That's, I don't want to say it's crazy, but it's definitely interesting how people can work the mind. It shows how fragile the mind can be. You can be strong-willed. You can see a strong-willed woman who's out doing this, but you never know what's going on at home and what fractures in her mind are holding her back from being successful within herself.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that is because a lot of the narcissistic abuse, it happens in private. It happens behind closed doors. So nobody knows until you actually speak up and you say something, because the narcissists that I've dealt with, they were very covert. They're very passive aggressive. They may smile and like, like that in front of your face. But then behind closed doors, that's when you will see the true individual, the true monster within will come out. Mm-hmm. But again, to the outer world, they like to present themselves as complete opposite from how they behave to the people that's closest to them, So that's just something to be mindful of.
Right. Wow. So, what was the final straw for you that said, I can't do this anymore? Before you answer that, before you answer that, let me ask you this. This was your aunt, right?
Yes.
So did any other family members know, or do they know the signs? Do they know how she is? Or do you have other families that's just like that are like her, or how's how is it like no cousin said chill out?
No, it's funny that my oldest cousin, which was her oldest son, I remember one time my aunt, she was getting into it with her husband. And usually how they were, they would express their anger by slamming the door or sleeping in separate rooms or, not talking to each other for a long while, Right. And I remember one time my cousin, they had an argument and my aunt slammed her door and my uncle, he slammed the house door. And my cousin, he was like, Joy, he was like, you need to get out of here. I was like, yeah, I know. I'm working on it. So I think that my older cousin had like how my aunt, the way that she behaved was definitely immature and, kind of selfish at most times. And then actually just real quick, an example. I remember one time my aunt, she was trying to teach me how to cook. Right. I think I was like 19 at the time, 19, 20. And it's not really funny, but I look back and I'm like, wow, I can't believe she did that. But so back in 2010, I used to eat meat, or actually before then, I was eating meat, and she was trying to show me how to make chicken strips. Right. But I guess like the homemade ones where you have the chicken and you chop it up and you kind of saute it in the pan. Right. And so, but mind you, she had came home from work, she was already frustrated and, just not really in the best mood, very irritable, And so anyway, she's trying to show me how to cook these chicken strips. And, I guess she loses her patience. And I think this is how she really felt about me anyway, because I think that, people will treat you how they feel, And so, what she says to me as I'm trying to learn, she's like, cook the chicken, damn it. Like that. That's what she said to me. And I'm seeing her like, wow. I didn't even do anything. Yeah. I'm like, I didn't even say anything to her for her to get upset like that. And even her youngest son, he was like, Joy, like, come on, cook it. And I was like, well, she's not showing me. Like she was just, kind of having that outburst on me. And so that really wasn't the straw. But what really did it for me, for her and the Milner, let me tell you. So with my aunt, what did it was she has this whole thing on, narcissists, period. They use finances as a weapon. So they would take finances and they feel like if they can control you financially, then you will never leave them, or you will never question like their intentions, or you will always think that they have your best interest because they're providing for you financially. So at the time, my aunt, she was paying for my phone bill and I was like, thank you so much. But eventually I don't, I want to pay for my own stuff, And so, she was doing that, and I will never forget, this was December of 2014. She was pretending like she wanted to take me out and buy me something for Christmas, because she would do that traditionally when I was living with her. That was the traditional thing. But I think this time, mind you, I had my own place. And she was like, oh, Joy, I want to call you. Let's go out and go shopping. I want to get you something for Christmas. So she takes me out. And on the way there, the whole time, Joe, she's like, so what are you going to do with your life? what are your plans? Like, you know, and I'm telling her my plans. And she's like, nope, I don't think that's a good idea. Nope, don't do that. You know, just automatically just shooting it down. No support, no nothing, you know, just like, no, do it my way. That was her thing. And I'm sitting here like, wow. And then she's like, oh, the reason, Joy, I'm treating you this way is because I see you as a daughter. And I'm sitting here thinking, I don't know. It just didn't feel right. I'm like, there's no way, you know. And so, but what happened was she ended up having an outburst on me. She was raising her voice because she did not like the fact that I did not want to go with her plan and that I had my own plan of mine. Not saying that it was the end all be all, but it was just like, I would like to live my life. I have the right to do that, you know? And so, anyway, she's yelling at me, screaming, and, you know, and I eventually say, I was like, I want to go home. And I had never said that in my life, Joe. Never, ever. Ever since I've, you know, been around my aunt as I gotten older, it was never like, I want to go home. But that day, I was like, I want to go home. And I think she felt bad about it. And then she's like, Joy, let's just go inside. And so, mind you, we end up going inside the mall. We're walking around. And I think she was trying to figure out if I needed her financially. And I basically told her, like, I don't need anything from you for Christmas. So she didn't buy me anything. And I was like, okay, fine. And so I was like, I want to go home. So we're driving back home. And I just remember looking over to her because I got upset at that point because I was just like, wow, you know, and eventually she said like, oh, I told her how I felt upset and even the stuff that she had did to me while I was living with her. And she had basically said, oh, I'm sorry you feel that way. So she kind of fake apologized. I didn't feel that it was heartfelt. You know, I felt like it was very much so like, oh, well, you feel that way. I'm sorry. Like, not that I'm really sorry. Like, how can I make it better? Or, you know, I you know, maybe I do have, you know, this sort of attitude or this personality that is very self-centered at times or conceited or, you know, arrogant. And I want to fix it. It wasn't like that. It was like, no, I'm sorry you feel that way. You know, like that.
Right.
And so, you know, as we're going home, I just remember looking over to the left of me. She was driving and I saw the smirk on her face. And I was like, oh, she liked that. She got me upset. She liked that I, you know, like, because I started to cry just a little bit. I'm not going to lie, because it was hurtful. I'm just like, I didn't do anything to this lady. And real quick, it's almost done. You know what she told me, that the reason why she treated me how she did was due to the fact that she felt like she didn't live her life and that she wished that, you know, she didn't get married so young and she wished that she didn't have kids so young. And I guess she was just projecting herself onto me. And at that point, I was like, I'm done. Like, I'd never talked to her after that point in time. She dropped me off home and that was it. I didn't hear from her and still haven't heard from her. But in regards to the male narc that I dealt with, the final straw was the fact that, you know, when I had met him, he was in a relationship, but he lied, unfortunately. So, you know, some guys will do that, you know. But
some guys do that. I don't know why.
Yeah. He lied and said he was single, but he was in a relationship. But with him, he was single for a period of time. He was single. But what happened was he had asked me if I wanted to, I guess, take it to the next level. But like, I was going to be like a side chick. And I'm thinking like, no, I don't do that, you know? And so I had turned him down.
Right.
And so I feel that kind of got to him, that got to his ego. And so I think at that point he was out for revenge. And so, but I didn't realize that, but that's what goes on in a narcissist mindset. They automatically get on guard and like, okay, I'm going to get them back. And so I guess he called himself getting me back because we still remained friends. We were cool. We were still hanging out, you know, and stuff like that. But I guess he was future faking me and making it seem like, oh, yeah, you know, he even said, he was like, yeah, I'm looking for a person like yourself. You know, I can see myself being with you and this and that, and giving me like that false hope, you know. And so, you know, I eventually get my place and I was excited. I was like, oh, you know, I finally moved away from my aunt because he heard my aunt, and how she talked to me and how she treated me and stuff like that. And so I thought he was on my side. I thought he had my back. And so I would never forget this. This was in March of 2014. I remember, I think, what did I call him or he called me? I think he called me, or either or, but we were on the phone and he was saying that, oh, congratulations, you got your place, blah, blah, blah. And he wanted to come over, you know, and I was thinking like, yeah, you can come over. But he said he would let me know when he could come. But after we got off that call, I saw it said he was in a relationship. And I'm thinking like, in a relationship? That's weird. It's not with me, you know? And I want to say a week later, he ended up calling me and was like, oh, Joy, I'm in town. Because at the time I was living in Long Beach, but he lived in North Hollywood. And that was like really far of a distance. So I know he had took a trip. So anyway, I basically talked to him and I told him that I did not want him to come over, you know, and for my own reasons. I didn't want to be no side chick. I'm not a part of that. So, but then I stopped talking to him. But what really made me say, okay, this is done, he actually posted a picture of, in the video, it's a new supply. So it's basically another victim, you know. So that was the last straw for me because, I don't know, I just felt like, you know, he was playing games. He was future faking me. He wasn't really serious. He wasn't really looking for the type of relationship that I was looking for. And I felt like I put so much time, energy, and effort into it only for him to, you know, go off and be with somebody else. And I'm like, now looking back, I can thank God that he did reject me because I realized I was dodging a bullet. So that was pretty much the last straw. But not only that, to come to the conclusion, after I saw his new supply and after I went full no contact, I started receiving phone calls. Like random people were calling me from blocked numbers, private numbers. You know, there was a person that called my phone and they asked for this person that I was dealing with. And I'm sitting here thinking like, well, we're not together. So why would I near him, you know? And I don't know. It kind of made me frightened. I was almost like afraid. I was like, okay, like, you know, is he going to try to pop up where I'm at? Like it got to that point, you know? So, and then there were people online who were like watching me. So it was kind of like a gang stalking type of deal. So yeah, it was really a lot that happened. So I was just like, okay, God, you protected me from that. You know, what they say, God's rejection is protection or something like that. Rejection is God's protection. Yeah. So, but yeah, that was the last straw for both situations and scenarios, to say the least.
Again,
I know it was. I know that was a lot. So yeah, I tried to make it.
No, it's hey, we real love, real talk in real life. So we're fine. Has that experience with that gentleman affected how you approach relationships with men going forward?
Absolutely. But I think that it just made me more just aware of individuals and people that I connect with. It makes me, I used to be fearful of having like relationships. I used to think like, oh my God, like, is this person going to do the same thing, you know, type of deal. But I don't do that anymore. Now I just more so I say, okay, God, like if this is the one, then please let me know. Give me some sort of sign, some sort of an experience, and God will reveal it to me. And I'm just so grateful. I'm like, okay, thank you, God. But I think now I'm aware. I give people the benefit of the doubt. So I'm not saying like, oh, you know, I'm automatically saying, no, you're going to hurt me or you're going to treat me this way. It's like, no, let me just see. I mean, people can talk, but let me see their actions so that way I can know what to do going forward. So, yeah.
Right. What about family? Because I know you said you still don't have any contact with your aunt. Well, what about like any other relatives that are close or associated with her? Was she your mother's sister or your father's sister?
My father's sister.
Okay.
Yeah. So in regards to family, unfortunately, well, that was my family in California. Like I said, I'm now in Florida. Okay. So it's funny enough, I still talk to her oldest son. Every now and then we'll like have a little chat on Facebook Messenger, but we wasn't talking like how we used to when, you know, I was in California. But at this point, I don't know. the other thing too about narcissists is they will do a smear campaign, which means they will kind of have this information and, they have all of this thoughts and their perceptions, and they kind of have their manipulation tactics on how people think of you in a certain way that may not be true, but because the narcissist feels that way, it's true, So it's not really the truth. It's just the narcissist truth. So in turn, it can kind of change the way that people see you, so they can flip things and twist things to make it to their own liking. And so I think that's kind of what happened with my aunt. And because I have 2 aunts in California and an uncle currently and some cousins. And, we just, unfortunately, we don't talk, as we used to. And I think it could be due to the fact that there was a smear campaign going on. And in regards to my mom, I have a good relationship with her. My dad, I've had a good relationship with him my whole life, but I think since I decided to follow what God was calling me to do in my life, and I just really surrendered. I really let go, and I said, "Okay, God, I'm going to put my trust in you. I'm going to follow you and what you want me to do with my life." And I think that caused a rift between my dad and I, because again, he had an idea of how he thought I should live my life or what I should do. And I understand he's a dad. He wants to protect and care and all that stuff. I completely understand. But I had to go with God. I could not live with myself knowing that God was calling me to do something with my life. And if I did not answer that call, I just couldn't. That didn't sit right with me. So essentially what I'm saying is that my dad and I, we're just become distant. I love him from a distance. I love my parents. And at this point, in regards to my aunt and the male narc, I've let it go. I did carry a lot of resentment, a lot of resentment towards my aunt and even the male narc for many years. But thank God I've released it. I let it go. I said, God, it's not my problem anymore. It already happened. And I just let it go.
Right. So. Right. I can tell just by listening to you that your journey has been long and hard.
Yes.
Because it seems like almost as if family to some extent has kind of turned their back on you a little bit. And then even on that, you had to set new boundaries in order to maintain a relationship with your family. And I was just looking for this book that we had called Boundaries, and there was some stuff in it, but it's over there somewhere, so I don't know where it's at.
Okay.
But yeah, unfortunately, these are things that you have to do as an adult as you begin to grow into your own space as an individual. And when you make that choice to say, "Hey, I'm not going to be your punching bag anymore," figuratively, physically or figuratively, excuse me, you have to make that decision. And it seems like you did that, through faith, through therapy, and also through training. So how much training have you had to have in order to be a counselor? So
with the training, honestly, it's truly been life experience, to be honest with you. Now, know that I got my associate's degree at a junior college, and we learned about so much. We learned about psychology, physiology, all of that stuff. Right. But, what my specialization has been narcissistic abuse, which again has been my personal life experience. But also I do help individuals, with their self-esteem, with the CPTSD, and that sort of thing, codependency concerns, and, just rebuilding their confidence back up, because those were things that I struggled with in my journey. So, me being able to overcome that, thank God, only God knows. But yeah, so that is essentially just life experience. Right. No, I understand that. Yeah, it was a lot. It truly was.
That's the best education sometimes is life.
Yeah, and I've always thought that life is a school, so we're always learning.
Right. There's sometimes there's things that can't learn in the classroom, or sometimes it's just, personal experiences take you further than what a book can, in my opinion. It's always been my opinion, because I dabbled in social work for a little bit, but I had worked so long in schools and nonprofits and group homes and things like that for so long. When I went to sit in the classroom, couldn't do it. I started getting into debates with other people and the teachers. So I was like, I can't do this because you're not giving out the right information because you haven't experienced what I've seen out there. So no, I definitely get it. I definitely get it. So, Joy, I'm going to say, man, it sounds like you got a lot going on over there. Yeah. I done seen a couple lizards. I done seen a couple lizards run across the top of the ceiling.
They're all around here in Florida. They're everywhere. They're everywhere.
Yeah. I was like, what is that? I said, oh, it's a lizard. Because, Orlando, they're everywhere.
They're everywhere. They're everywhere.
Well, Joy, I want to thank you for coming on our podcast, and I definitely want to say, hey, I love you for wanting to come on our podcast.
Thank
Everybody that comes on, I tell them I love them, I appreciate them.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And whenever you have an opening for whatever, we're always down. Hopefully, my wife will be here. It's hard to get on the mic sometimes, but she'll come on for something. So, go ahead, give them a call to action where they can contact you, where they can see your information, your podcast.
Yeah, so please, you guys feel free to reach out to me if you would like to book a session, or, you just need a listening ear, or if you have a certain mental health challenge or concern. I would love to support you on your journey. You can reach out to me via my website at www.livenarcfree.com, or you can also reach me on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. I would love to support you in any way that I can, because I know what it feels like to, not have anybody to talk to, or to feel lonely and, just feeling lost. So definitely I would love to.
Well, thank you, Joy. Again, we appreciate you coming on. And everybody, you can catch the Two Harks on Facebook and IG, Two Harks, Twitter at MSTAJ_HARK. And you can also catch our Gospel Inspirational Sunday Show on itkcommunityradio.com. It's no longer Gospel Impact Radio. It's ITK Community. It's the Two Hearts music, inspiration, and fun with me and her, my wife. A lot of great segments. We have a lot of fun. So any final words, Joy, before we
I would just say, again, you're not alone. Put your trust in God. And actually, I did just want to make a note here. So I do actually have... for those of you specifically that have dealt with narcissistic abuse, I do have like a self-study guide book. If any of you guys would like to learn more about that, you too, Joe, you're welcome to get a copy as well. But it's called.
So you got books out too?
Throw it out there just in case, because I know a lot of times people. Yeah.
Tell us about the books.
Well, because the reason why I say that person in particular, they said that they had anxiety in regards to talking about, what they had went through. So I figure, if a person has a self-study guide, then it's a little bit more private, and they could still get that healing and recovery that they need. But anyways, just real quick, it was, I did it last year. I released it in July. It's called Reclaim Your Life Back, My Journey into Understanding Narcissism. And I decided to write it because I felt like, people would always ask me for advice. They wanted to know how I was able to heal and recover after dealing with the abuse. And I was just like, you know what, let me write it down. And again, for people that learn in a different way, or they felt more comfortable, getting that awareness, that education and knowledge, And it was also healing for me too, again, because even when you're journaling, you're writing, it's healing, it was truly healing. But I'm not gonna lie, it was painful for me to write as well, because it was what I literally went through, real life experience, and it was a lot. It truly was. But I'm glad that, it's out there. So if anybody needs the education, they can get it, and they can share it not only with themselves, but their children, because, if you have children, they may run into a narc, or, maybe it's a job, like a boss, They may need to know how to interact with them, how to deal with them, even how to counteract, so that way they're still in control of themselves. They know who they are, and they don't allow for this individual to take their power away. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, that's basically that. But yeah, if you can, if you're welcome to get a copy of that if you like. You too, Joe, as well, or anybody else watching. But yeah. Yes.
Okay. Where do we get the book?
So you can reach out to me as well. You can go on my website or you can go on Amazon. It's available on Amazon. It usually doesn't take that long, a couple days or so. But yeah, you can inquire about that. But like I said, just the thing with me, my final words is like, you got to just really love yourself. And you got to know that just because you have experienced abuse, it's not the end of your life. There's a better future. There's a reason to have hope, to be encouraged, to have empowerment, because I'm not going to lie. Like when I was dealing with the abuse, I did have thoughts of suicide. I did at the time. And there are, unfortunately, some people that actually kill themselves due to this abuse. So this is really not a joke. It's not a game, and it's serious, and I think now the culture, again, we're hearing about, narc this, narc that, it's been thrown around, but this is real life stuff, and so don't be afraid to reach out for help. There's always somebody out there that has been through it. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm going to piggyback on the writing aspect. Writing is therapeutic. I was at a low point in my life where I used to write poetry stories. I've got notebooks everywhere. And I think that's the only thing that kept me moving until I got past it, until I got to another space in my life. And now sometimes you hit the low spots, but then I found other creative ways to release any stress or express myself. So, I'm an advocate for writing or any form of art that helps you relieve stress or it helps you better to express yourself. Because I'll be honest, I'm not the type of person, and
okay,
I'm not the type of person that'll talk to a therapist. And and I know people will say well, whatever, but I think because I have my release, and I think that the way I release works for me. Talking to someone doesn't work for me, but of course, talking to you is great, Joy.
Yeah, no, and I was gonna say that some people have that type of perspective, and I completely understand. And like I said, person that reached out to me, I think essentially she wanted to have the session, but we ended up doing another type of resource that was helpful for her, another service where we did not talk, but I was able to provide her with the feedback that she needed without her actually having to talk to me. You see what I'm saying? So I just want to make sure that I can reach every type of personality for that individual. Either way, I just want to help. But everybody has their own way of wanting to be helped, and how they cope with abuse or pain and stuff like that. So yeah. Exactly.
So anybody listen, don't follow me. If you need help, therapy.
You're funny.
Yes. Your therapy, I recommend it. But so, but Joy, thank you for thank you for coming on our podcast. Again, it's
thank you for having me.
I can't say it enough, but it's humbling that you reached out, and it's like you were almost adamant about getting on. I said, I think I better get her on real quick because she really wants it.
You like, she gonna not come or what?
Yeah. So, but thank you. So everybody, keep tuning in, follow, subscribe, check us out, check out Joy, check out me, and we'll see you next time on the Thursday podcast.